Well, this is going to be very exciting for me. I get to meet David Lee, the David Lee,
Oh,
head of
lots of David
Samsung
Lees.
Next.
So thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is capital T, David. This is how you people know you as the David Lee.
That should be my
So
new
you
username. Yes. Yes.
exactly. Now, you and Samsung Next as an organization have done so much for the NFT space because you have gotten behind and supported and brought into your portfolio and your environment all these different incredible companies that are doing great things. So instead of me telling people, maybe you could introduce yourself and talk a bit about some of the folks that you've been able to partner with and help create what has become the modern NFT.
Absolutely. And first of all, Ian, thank you for having me. And we're excited to be a part of this and support you any way that we can. Here at Samsung Next, we are a venture firm. We're affiliated with Samsung Electronics, and our mission, our goal is really to support and back the best founders, the boldest founders in areas that we care about. And one of those areas is this area of what we call blockchain, because it sounds less nefarious to some of our executives than crypto. But it's really about everything that this conference represents, about builders and developers with new platforms mainly built on blockchain. You can call it Web3, you can call it NFTs. And as part of that effort, we've been fortunate to invest in companies like Dapper Labs, Axie Infinity, Super Rare, Sandbox. These companies will be participating in your conference. And so it's a real thrill to be a part of this. And for us, it's really, if you think about where the best founders are and where they're spending a lot of their time and energy, we observe that a lot of the best founders are in this area. And if you think about Samsung, where you have the largest mobile footprint in the world, particularly in areas outside of the US, we sell a TV every second. And so given our platform and our resources, we felt like this is a great opportunity to back some founders in this next wave.
Well, one thing, you mentioned four companies, and one thing is that the founders of those companies have been involved with NFT NYC, and it's not our event, it's not Jody's event or OpenSea's event or my event. It's really all of our event, right? It's all the folks at Dapper and at Sandbox and at Super Rare and Axie that have really created this environment because this is a community gathering. At this upcoming NFT NYC, there's 5,000 people. There's a ton of people that are going to want your attention, David. And so while you're there, what type of potential strategic partners or companies that you could potentially get involved investing in and getting behind, what type of people are you personally looking to connect with? And that way people can be mindful, like, oh, ding, 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 that's me. I
Yes.
need to meet with David. So I give a little insight.
You know, I don't know if this is going to be particularly helpful, but this has always been my approach when coming to events such as this. I'm always interested in meeting people that are working on anything, or particularly some of the wackiest stuff that's out there, particularly at the earliest stage. And I think the founders who are just starting, the builders who are just starting a project, they're coming here, they're looking to meet a lot of other people. I think just the step of taking the step to come here and meet other people shows a certain initiative that not everybody has. And so generally I bias towards builders and the people who are building projects, building DAOs, building communities. So it's less about the established companies and more about the companies that are just getting started. The future Super Rares, the future Dappers, the future Axie Infinities, because a lot of them will be in this audience. And just because that's how we learn. When I first got here, people always ask me, where's the world going? You've invested in all these startups, and I said, listen, I don't know where it's going, but we can help identify the people who are building the future, and that helps us. And hopefully, by creating value for this community, we can actually benefit as well.
When you talk about the future, if I say to you NFT 2024, what positive things are you projecting, hoping for, and having folks build towards in the next 2 or 3 years?
I think for me, NFT 2024 arguably will be might be renamed. I think the really interesting thing about NFTs, and I'm not saying anything new, but from somebody who's worked at Google, I worked on the Google video team, and that was a time when media was abundant. And the goal was, how do you rein in media, because there were a lot of copyright fights around copyrighted content, obviously. But I do think that this idea of digital scarcity is an idea that it almost gives me chills thinking about what the builders and creators will come up with that are completely new and different from what we've seen before. And so I say it may not even be called NFT, because I think the really interesting trend here is just media with NFT as the building block. NFTs are it's the first sort of manifestation of this idea of digital scarcity, and building something that people want. So in the case of Super Rare, it's digital art. In the case of Dapper Labs, it could be a digital trading card. But those are all models or behaviors that come from the older media, even the idea of trading cards and digital art. And I'm really excited, even in a span of 2 years, NFT 2024, what's something that can't be created but for this idea of digital scarcity and NFTs. And so that's what I'm really excited for in a couple of years. That's my vision for NFT NYC in 2024. Hopefully that aligns with your vision as well.
Well, I'm on board with your vision.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring up one of my favorite entrepreneurs because he was connected to Samsung. So Adam Chyer, he was one of the co-founders of Apple Siri and one of the co-founders of what became Samsung Bixby. And he's a hero of mine, and it's been a big impact on me. So when you think about this space, do you anticipate that there will be some Adam Chyers, some women and some men that develop, in innovative technology after innovative technology that's able to scale to billion plus users? Is that one of the things that you're anticipating, is that there'll be people that just have that golden touch and kind of can go from project to project to project and be able to have mass scale the way that Adam did in a Web 2 centralized world? Do you think that will be an opportunity for people in this decentralized Web 3 environment?
Absolutely. And you're already seeing it. And I love the point that you're making. I actually had the opportunity to invest in Adam's company, Vive, at my old firm, SV Angel. And he's a great example of somebody, I call it founder market fit. It's also founder timing fit, where somebody whose life work really coincided with the moment. And I think there are a lot of people, particularly in the area of media. I can just people whose life work. I invested in a company, Dom Hoffman, who has created a lot of games around loot and so forth. And you think about Dom's strengths at Vine, and you think about this moment of NFT and creating new type of media. And you're going to see this founder emerge that is one part immersed in media and culture, one part technologist, and one part really hacker, because part of this movement is really understanding the computer science and some of the technology behind some of these applications. And so for sure you're going to see more Adams emerge in terms of in this next cycle of Web3.
Would you mind giving a little bit more detail on founder market fit? Because it's not a phrase that's thrown around maybe as often amongst everyone as maybe it is you and your peers. So can you give a little more insight on that for people that would be interested in understanding how you would describe a founder having founder market?
Yeah, it was a glib term that I came up with, and it's a play on a term of product market fit, where effectively you build something that reaches a market, importantly a growing market, and it's something that hasn't been built before. And there's Paul Graham talks about building something that people want, and the market fit comes into addressing a market that is really growing fast. Airbnb is probably the best example of product market fit. Uber, obviously, product market fit. When I think of founder market fit, when you're thinking of these, really one way of thinking about it is there are a couple of different ways where you just see I mentioned earlier, Dom, or there's just, and I don't want to pigeonhole what, the founder profile that will be successful in the next 5, 10 years. But I do think there are certain founders that lend themselves to different market opportunities, different products, different companies. So in the case of Web3, in the case of NFT, I mentioned just somebody who has been thinking about media, who's been thinking about different types of media, different types of expression, who's also involved in technology. And this moment coming along when there's an opportunity to build something for a growing user base. And so another way of thinking about it, or just one sentence, is are they working on their life's work? And so if you think about Jack Dorsey, when he built Twitter, what he did as a child is he would listen to the police stations, and he would think about where all the different incidents were happening, and he would just look at a map. Or you think about, the classic case is a coder or somebody, it could be a Steve Jobs or a Larry Page, and what did they do in their childhood? And this moment comes along where the personal commuter comes of age, or the web comes of age. And that sort of lent itself to somebody not only with a great imagination, but somebody who was really smart and who could understand all the technical underpinnings of the computer age. And I think what's happening here, or there's an opportunity for that type of founder to emerge in this opportunity, or a different type of founder that you may have seen in the past. And that's the piece that's really, really fun, and sorry about the background noise, exciting to think about. And it applies to
this makes it real.
Yeah, and it applies to any market as well. If you think about somebody building something in AI, or health tech, or media tech, some of our other areas, you can listen to their life story and think about this moment, and think about if their life has been building up to this moment in the creation of their company or project. And that's when it gets pretty exciting. And it's not sufficient for success. It doesn't mean that founder will go on to be, the next Elon Musk, or Jack Dorsey, or even Vitalik. But it is exciting to see the founders who are pursuing that, and where their work isn't really work, it's their life's work.
I'm so inspired right now. I might be levitating.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And
Well,
everything that you're
thank you
doing
for being
here
here.
enables that, because I'm sure there will be people in the audience who have said, finally, there's going to be a gathering of people who love what I love. And that, to me, you asked earlier, who are the types of people that I'd like to meet? Those are the types of people that our whole team, and we're going to have a team of people out there, would like to meet, because they're the ones who inspire us.
Yes. Well, David, thank you so much for all that you have done, all that you are doing, and we anticipate that you and your team will continue to provide incredible stability and foundation for those that are doing their life's work in this NFT space. So I'm very grateful, and I speak on behalf of the entire NFT NYC team and saying that. So thanks for jumping in here, and I'll see you in New York very
See
soon.
you in New York.